Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Watching the Boxes. I am your host, Mike Catron, and joining me, as always, is Tyler Watts. What's up, Tyler?
I was trying to think of something interesting to say, but I just don't really have anything.
Wow, that is a disappointing intro for all the listeners out there.
That'll be all right. We got Philly to talk about today. It'll be fine.
Yeah, so we are at the tail end of our team previews here for next season's fantasy basketball season, and if you've made it this far, congratulations. If this is the first episode you're listening to, you listened to them in the wrong order, but I guess there's no actual order to listen to these because they should, for the most part, hold up going into the preseason where we start learning a little bit more about those rotations, and we can kind of add on to these team previews as we learn more about what players are actually going to get what kind of minutes. And I think one of the first teams we're definitely going to be talking about when the preseason starts is the first team we're going to be talking about tonight, and that is the Philadelphia 76ers. There's a lot of minutes to go around, a lot of new faces, a lot of new people, a lot of people who were not healthy who became healthy. Some reports out there that Joel Embiid does not seem to be as healthy as we thought he was.
Well. Yes, you thought he was. We had this discussion months ago, and I told you, run, don't hide here.
Run, don't walk away from Joel Embiid.
Yeah, not for.
You just cut out.
I said, not for me, my friend. He is not for me at all.
Cool. Yeah. And I'm starting to, I guess, feel that way because it did just come out that he is not cleared 4 5-on-5 drills. He might not start the season. And I think I had baked in Joel Embiid's ability to definitely not play a full season into where I've ranked him. And so I definitely wasn't taking him in the first round. I don't even think I was taking him in the second round, but I would probably take him early in the third round, and I'm not so sure about that ranking anymore.
31 games in 3 years. 31 games in 3 years.
That's not very good. It's also not very good for 1 year, which was just last year.
And it's always something with the knees, right? It's not like it's a hand and then a head and then a knee and then a foot and then it's always something with the knees. Now we hear that, he had this minor procedure, right? You heard that last year, and we sat him out at the end of the year, but he was healthy enough to play, but yet now he still can't do 5-on-5. So either the injury was a lot worse than we thought, or he hurt himself again. Neither one of those options sound good to me.
Yeah, if he hasn't recovered, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. And if this is new, I don't know if that's a worse sign, but it's an equally as bad sign. And so when you project out his per 36 stats, he ends up being one of the best, if not the best, fantasy player that you can draft. But we all know, he's not going to play 36 minutes, and he's not even going to play. He might not play 36 games.
Mark and I had a discussion about this the one day, and I said to him, I can't even project 50 games for him.
Oof, wow. And that really kills.
I mean, how do you say that he plays 50?
That kills his value, right? 50 games. It's just not worth it.
Is where he's getting drafted on Yahoo. Ooh. You can all have him. You guys, I hope he's awesome. I hope he plays 70 games, but you can have him at that pick. Now at pick,
I mean, he could average 3 blocks a game with a steal, hitting 3-pointers, 20 points a game. Like that easily could happen in under 30 minutes a game, around 30 minutes a game.
And for his 40 games, you'll enjoy that.
So I think this is where this is easily the most interesting thing going on the Philadelphia 76ers is definitely Joel Embiid's value. And I'm not sure. I still think he has to be drafted eventually. So the question becomes, what round is eventually? What round in the Tyler Watts only draft? What round is eventually for you? You
I'm
cut out
sorry.
again.
I said I missed all that business. I'm sorry.
Did I cut out too?
Yeah, I couldn't hear anything, but it was on my end. Just hold on one tick here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pop this thing up and kill some of this crap that's going on in the background of my computer. Apparently, my computer's in one of those like weird things where it wants to try to update itself like every day now, because for some reason like this one update won't install itself, right? And so like this update
you might want to update.
I do know. See, what I do is I update it, but like I never like restart. Like I always just like shut it off, and then when it goes to reboot, it like can't finish the update right. So like this one update has gone for like the last like 4 days, and now when that stupid update thing kicks on, it like kills my computer's CPU and shit. So we'll be good.
No worries there.
We're good now.
I can remember this. I did a smart thing and put a timer on, so now I know what time this happens in the editing process. I have no idea where we were.
We're just talking about Joel Embiid.
Let me pick it up. So yeah, I think this is definitely the most interesting thing in Joel Embiid, but eventually, in a draft, he has to be drafted at some point. So in the Tyler Watts only draft,
hey, you can't
where
do
are
this.
you?
This is my thing.
I'm taking all your segments. I took the deep player last episode for Sacramento. I'm taking this in the Tyler Watts only draft. Where are you drafting him? Because I know you at some point you have to.
So I'm definitely. I don't even want him in my third round, which is bad, right? I'm in the fourth. I'm probably behind some guys here like Gordon Hayward. I definitely take over him. Kristaps Porzingis. I mean.
Let me play. Who would you rather? So I think this is like we said. This is the most interesting problem is that now you have this injury. Obviously, he's not going to play the whole season. He's not going to start the season. You don't know what this injury is. You don't know how it lingers. And now you're looking at a 3-year history that's turning into a 4-year history, right? So taking him in the second round, I'm out now, 100% out. Taking him in the third round, would you? I mean, I think I'm out now. I was probably going to say if you never dropped to the third round, you have to take him, right? Or even at the bottom of the second round, I think you got to consider it. But let's move into some fourth round type talent, right? Would you rather have like Blake Griffin?
Now, see, in a shallow league, I'm picking Embiid because they're both injury risks, right? And I feel a lot better about the Embiid games than the Blake Griffin games. They're both real good per game producers, but I feel better about Embiid's. So I'm going to take Embiid.
You feel better about Joel Embiid's game totals than Blake Griffin?
No, per game.
Oh, per game totals.
I feel like
actually, so his overall total for his volume for the season actually might be somewhat similar to the Blake Griffins in certain categories, especially blocks.
That's what I mean. I feel like I'm gonna take Embiid in a shallow in a deep league. I'm gonna have a real hard time drafting Embiid anywhere.
So let's say it's a 12-team league. It's just a standard 12-team league, and you have the 40th pick, and Joel Embiid is sitting on the board, and you also see someone like Oladipo, Robert Covington, Paul Millsap. Maybe even your boy Chris Middleton. Do you take Embiid?
I mean, I'm probably taking Embiid at that point, right? But
I think it's worth the shot because let's say he plays 48 games.
But I think your hypothetical doesn't matter in the sense that I think someone snatches Embiid in the first, second round.
I think it only matters to like the 10 people who play in leagues where there is no one person who's going to take a shot at Joel Embiid, and you're 100% right. There's no chance he gets out of the second round in probably almost any league other than the sharpest leagues. And even then, I think the sharps will take him in the third round.
Yeah, so I'm too scared.
Yeah, I mean, in totals in 31 games, you're looking at the 187th player. I think in a roto league, And I liked your example of like a shallow league, but in a roto league where quality starts are the most important segment because you got your games limit, hopefully set at 82, so you're playing correctly, or play however you want. Oh, everybody do whatever they want. Everybody says that now, but if I can get 45 insane starts out of Joel Embiid, is that 45 like top 10-esque starts better than 70 some starts from Goran Dragic? Or let's get a player who's a little bit more aligned with Joel Embiid. Brook Lopez?
I mean, probably, right?
It's probably incredibly similar, right?
You got to think that it is. And here's the weird part about it is in a roto league, I'm more apt to take him. But in a 9-cat roto, I'm maybe I'm at the same level, maybe a little less apt to take him because those turnovers are crazy, man.
Yeah, if you even in a roto league, if you're in a roto league and you're trying to win on turnovers, like you're trying to be the best turnover player, you're not going to win. You're not going to win the league. That's a little early pro tip on my roto season preview that we are going to be doing, I believe, next week. We're going to be talking about head-to-head and roto strategies, and I like the idea that people pay attention to turnovers. You know, when you have someone like James Harden averaging 5 turnovers a game, that should matter. That really does matter. But if you're trying to pick guys who turn the ball over less than 2 times a game, yeah, there's about one guy you can pick in the first 2 to 3 rounds.
And you're crap in every other category if you do that. I mean,
yeah, you're not going to be great if your best category is going to be turnovers. You're not going to be
points, and you can't get assists if you don't have turnovers.
You got to be aware of it, but what's more important is being aware of every other category and letting the turnovers fall where they may, or be conscious that you're like, I got Westbrook. Focus on Miles Turner.
But the later you go in the draft and you're still getting these real high turnover guys, the more it's sinking you to be last in turnovers. And it's hard to be last in any category in a roto and win, right? I mean,
absolutely. It's I've seen it happen. It can be done, and I actually think it's easier to punt a category the less amount, the fewer teams. Not that I guess the proper English would be the fewer teams there are in a league.
Well, that would just make sense.
The easier it is to punt,
because if you get 1 out of and the next best person only gets 10, you're only 9 behind.
Exactly.
If it's a 16-team league, you're 15 behind.
Now you got to get 15 in another category. It's the same concept. If you're guaranteed to get 1 in a turnover, the last place in a turnover category, or free throws. Let's say you're going to punt free throws, which I wouldn't recommend either. Then you have to get first in at least one other category, if not first and third in 2 other categories. Like, that better be setting you up to dominate 2 categories in order to make up for what you've lost in punting 1 category in roto.
I'm with you there.
It is a similar thought process to head-to-head, but I certainly don't like to play roto that way. But back to Joel Embiid, I'm not afraid of him because of his turnovers. Because you're talking about 45 to 50 games at best. So, 3 some turnovers a game, 4 turnovers a game, 45 games. It's not great, right? It's not great, but that quality start of someone who can approach 3 blocks a game, a steal and a half, 24
crazy threes, right?
That's over 3 a game.
I mean, you gotta love the stat line. I just wish it happened a little more frequently.
He's like Cousins. He's like Cousins on crack, man. He's amazing, absolutely amazing.
That was one of my favorite games last year. Was him and Cousins going against each other. I enjoyed that.
That was a good game. I hope we get that game again this year. Philly is probably going to be one of the most interesting teams to watch. So I think we got a lot to break down on this team. Let's look at who do you have as the second overall player on the Philadelphia 76ers, and I'm going to let you know there is a right answer to this question.
It's the always underrated Bob Cove.
Bobby Covington, the great, completely under the radar Bobby Covington. I still play in leagues where no one wants to draft this guy. It's amazing, and I still think that's gonna hold up. I think it's gonna hold up even this year. This might be the year you start to see people jumping on the Bobby Covington bandwagon.
I don't think so.
But beautiful Bob is one of my favorite players to draft.
He's the Nick Batum, man. He's got the Nick Batum syndrome. There's not enough points, so no one wants him early on.
Yeah, he's across the board a great roto player. Doesn't turn the ball over a lot. A borderline 2 steal a game guy, which is elite.
Yahoo.
Let's throw in and also throw in the block. He's a 2-in-1 guy, not a 1-in-1 guy.
I got to throw Yahoo under the bus.
Always.
68.3 Dario Saric is getting picked. 69.6 Robert Covington is getting picked.
That is drunk nonsense, and that's just absolutely ludicrous. I can't disagree with that any harder. That might be the worst take of this young fantasy basketball season.
Top 50 guy for Bob Cove.
100%. He's a top 50 guy.
Nick
a lot of people are
Bob
saying,
Cove. Are you going for the old Nick, the old or the new? That's what I want to know. That's my conundrum so far. Do I go for the old? Because he's Nick Batum, right?
I'm going Robert Covington.
See, I'm going Batum just because I like those big assist numbers, but I
Sure.
see where you're coming from.
I'm going Robert Covington. It's the steals are even higher.
The steals are elite. They're borderline elite.
The Nick Batum, they are elite steals. He's getting a full block a game. He's hitting a ton of threes, which he's hitting 2 threes, but he can go off and hit even more than that. He was an incredibly streaky player last year, and actually 2 years ago too. So that to me is always a little bit worrisome. But if you go look at old Bob Covington, let's take a deep dive into Bob Covington because I just love this guy so much. A lot of people are like, well, with Embiid and Fultz and everybody else on this team, he's not going to get the ball very much anymore. He's not going to take a bunch of shots. He took last year 11 shots a game. Try to tell me he's not going to be able to get 11 to 12 shots a game. And he only took 11, 12 shots a game because he was shooting so poorly.
Here's a take, and maybe it's hot. I don't know. I don't know. It's the take I believe in, though. They added JJ Redick. What is JJ Redick? A spot-up shooter, right?
Spot-up three-point shooter.
Okay, so they know that they want to put Simmons at the point, and Markelle Fultz is a little bit the same way, and Markelle Fultz wants to get to the basket too. So they're going to use Redick and Covington to space the floor and to stand behind that three-point line and fire away. Bob Cove's a good three-point shooter. I think that Bob Cove's going to be fine in that sense. I think he's going to get some wide open looks because defenses are going to collapse on Simmons and Fultz, driving to the rack, and they have to. And then you got Embiid in there that they've got to worry about. And I think that Redick and Robert Covington can both be wide open for a lot of threes this year and be pretty good. And
yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, and that's I think what I'm going to say about JJ as well is that these guys are going to be open. Their job is to be spot-up shooters, and Covington can be a spot-up shooter. That's a role he played quite a bit. He also is able to drive the basket. He's a little bit more versatile than you think. You are right that his assists are not anything to talk about. They're not great, and his field goal percentage is low, though he's not a huge volume. It's still something to be aware of, especially in a roto league. But in a lot of leagues where people punt things like field goal percentage, that bumps Robert Covington even higher in the rankings, and I just don't think you can avoid or look away from a guy who could potentially average 2 steals a game. So taking him out of the top 50 is a terrible idea.
I'm with you.
Let's go to the guy we just mentioned, JJ Redick. A really kind of sneakily good player in years past. I think he was very underrated for a lot of years because he's just not like a great name. He doesn't do a ton of things, right? But he's kind of like maybe JJ is the poor man's Bradley Beal I've been looking for to compare. I've been looking for a guy who's like Bradley Beal used to be like a kind of a one-tool pony, but now he's actually really quite a good fantasy basketball player. But JJ is still that one-tool type of guy, but he was always incredibly good at it. He was one of those one of the earlier point guards to start approaching 2.5, 3-pointers a game before legitimately everyone was hitting 3-pointers a game at the elite levels of 3-point making. Last year, JJ kind of took a little bit of a hit, played only 28 minutes a game, which was not off from the year before that, but his shooting percentage suffered a little bit. And other than that, though, he was still very consistent with his stats. But he definitely didn't have as good of a season as he did last year in LA. And I think it's because they were definitely running less plays for him in LA. On Philly, that's a different story, though.
Guy gets lost in the shuffle a little bit too. I always think he's got a little bit more value than what the big sites like to put him at. He's going 123rd at Yahoo. I love that
silly
value. I think he's a top 100 player.
He's 100% a top 100 player. I would even say his ceiling is probably in the top 80.
Yeah, so that's definitely a nice little value pickup for you on Yahoo, and I'm assuming on ESPN because he's the same way. He's usually one of the last picks, and he probably should be a starter in your standard league.
Yeah, really, no one really does respect JJ Redick, and I kind of understand why, the whole Duke thing. But I think you should respect JJ Redick because he's earned it. He's earned it by putting together a lot of really good years out in LA, and I never thought I'd wax on about JJ Redick like this, but a guy who can approach, I think will approach 3 threes a game is a guy who should be owned, period. But he's not terrible at anything else. He's good at almost give you a steal. His assists are incredibly low, but you're making up for it by a guy who can average 15-some points a game that you could probably get in the 8th round. If he's sitting there in the 9th round, he's going to be on my team, 100%. If he's sitting there 8th round and I don't have very good threes, he's going to be on my team, 100%.
I'm with you there.
I'm taking JJ Redick. Some groups of projections and people might be down on him, but I'm not.
No, I mean, like I said, I think he's always just kind of criminally underrated. But
yeah, if you go out to #basketball and go check out Mark Roberts' projections, who we did have on this show not that long ago, and I suggest you go listen to that one. He has JJ Redick. If you are punting turnovers, which let's not punt turnovers, and because that's going to help his rankings.
He's still 87th, even if you punt turnovers, which is pretty damn good.
He's 75th. Let me make sure I'm on the right thing.
If you're not punting turnovers, he's 75th. If you're punting turnovers, it's 87th.
Yeah, really not that far off. So yeah, I think that's an incredibly fair ranking for him. In fact, he has him at 2.7 3-pointers a game, and I honestly think he can get over 3. I really do. Let's talk about the rest of this team because there's still a lot of names that need to be brought up here. So I'm going to let you pick which one of the next one of these next players do you want to talk about?
Well, we talked about Dario Saric for a hot minute. I think he's probably getting a little overdrafted on Yahoo. Mark Roberts did a great job of explaining why he has him 75th in his projections on that episode you just talked about, and I'm with Mark in that. But at 68, where he's getting picked, I still think that's just a little bit too high.
It's definitely a little bit too high, and it's weird. There's two groups of thought with Dario. There's the one group who saw what he did last year and is like, oh man, this guy is going to be like Nico Mirotic. He's going to be absolutely, but actually consistent. And there's my pot shot at the Bulls for this episode. He's going to be, a top 50 player. He's going to get a ton of minutes. He's going to be awesome with all these guys around him, blah, 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 and stuff. Look at what he did last year. And he's going to come off the bench. He's going to be on the second team. He's not going to play 30 minutes a game. I think his value is going to drop because they were running basically the team around him, and that's why he was playing so well. But then you have this other camp of people, some of the sharps out there who are looking at it and going, he's not going to play at all. He's going to be terrible. He's going to be buried. He's not valuable. He's not even standard league relevant. And I think the truth is much more in the middle there.
I think he's still a top 100 player. I think they don't have anybody to give the backup minutes at the spots two really, and on the wing, and I shouldn't say wing at the forward. I think he's a combo forward, and I think he's going to play some small forward. He's going to play some power forward, and he's going to get like 27, 28 minutes a night.
Yeah, there are plenty of minutes for him. There's just not starters minutes for him. And at a starter minute rate, I would definitely be interested in someone like Dario Saric. But man, at bench, even at a high bench level, he's still someone I think you have to take at the bottom part of your draft.
I mean, maybe. I'm looking at him, like I said, I'm looking at him kind of in that like 80, 85, 90 range, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm even that high on him because I don't know what I'm getting at a very limited rate. If I'm getting him at 24 minutes a game, but he's still very, very capable, even at that at 24 or 26 minutes a game. And some of these lines, like he's got the talent, right? Some of these lines he had last year, like 29, 7, and 5 with 3 3-pointers and a steal and 2 steals and a block. Like that's a crazy line, but that was in 35 minutes.
And here's the beauty of this: if Embiid goes down, and you got to think that happens at some point, I think that they kind of go small some, and he could easily be seeing like 31, 32 minutes a night at that point.
Yeah, I think we talked about this with someone like Willie Cauley-Stein, is that the ceiling is there, and so I prefer to draft in the later half of my drafts towards someone's potential, someone's ceiling, versus someone who's not as great but very consistent. I don't want to reach on every single one of those picks. Or not even reach, but I don't want to draft someone in those picks. Every one of them, they all have to pan out right. But in order to win a league, you need to draft someone in that 8th round that ends up being a top 50 player.
I like to take, in a standard draft, so 13 spots, I'd like to take 3 to 5 shots on guys I think can take a huge step up.
I think that's fair. I'm not sure Sarge is a guy who took a huge step up, but he's a guy who can be consistently a top 100 player.
Right. And so, I mean, you don't want to get too many, though. You don't want to have 8 or 9 guys who, like, I reach for this guy, he has to be really good. I reach for this guy, he has to be really good. I reach for this guy, he has to be really good. I think that, yeah, okay, maybe you win the league that way, but you also finish in last that way.
Yeah, that can really, really, really bite you. And that's actually kind of why we are so out on Embiid, is that you can't, in my opinion, you cannot win the league in the first round, but you certainly can lose it. And taking Joel Embiid in the first round, you're probably going to lose your league.
Yeah, and you need that value, right? Even if you're a first round guy, you pick at 9 and he ends up at 20. That's still pretty good, right? You got something out of that. It wasn't great value, but you got something out of that. If you pick a guy at 9 and he ends up at 55, 60, you're probably losing that league. And if he ends up way below that because he doesn't play, you're definitely losing that league.
Oh, certainly. So would you rather have Saric on this team than JJ Redick in a standard league? In a head-to-head standard league?
Well, I mean, at that point in a head-to-head standard league, right, we're drafting for what we need.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I need rebounds, I'm definitely going for Sarge. If I need points and threes, I'm definitely going for Redick. In a vacuum, right, and in one of those
In a
me
pure
only
vacuum.
in one of those me only drafts where I'm forgetting what my team looks like, in a pure vacuum, it's tight. I probably have JJ Redick today, but if I see that Sarge is going to play like 27, 28, 29 minutes, I think I'd rather have him. And how I think we see that is probably more that they say, okay, Embiid's out at the beginning of the season. And then I'm probably jumping on Sarge a little bit higher than JJ Redick.
Yeah, and the fact that we are hearing that Embiid is probably going to be out for the beginning of the season. Now I am thinking about taking Sarge over Redick, but I think you're right. In maybe the 9th round, both of those guys are incredibly warranted in picking them around in the 8th round, 9th round kind of area.
So I can't believe this fact that Philly's got 2 guys that are definitely being way overdrafted. We talked about Sarge being a little bit overdrafted, but there's 2 guys on this list that are way overdrafted, in my opinion.
And I assume I know who those 2 guys are. And let's just get a definitive ranking. You're still taking Joel Embiid over Robert Covington.
Me? Yeah.
Yeah. In the you only draft, and I think I am too. I think it's actually getting close. That's when it's starting to get close. But
yes, but you just gotta, especially in a shallower league, right? Like if it's a 16, a 20 team league, I might take Covington because I feel pretty good about getting like 70 games from Covington. And at some point, right, like that at pick 40, that becomes your second pick, right? Like if it's a 20 team league and you're picking at pick 40, that's your second guy, right? I don't want Joel Embiid to be my second guy on a team.
True. I don't either. So he's got to be probably the 4th guy on my team in order for me to actually draft him. But Robert Covington is probably a 4th or probably a 4th guy too.
That's what I mean. But in a shallow league, at that point, like, okay, I could have the best player in fantasy. That's a league winner. So, if my 4th pick, I definitely want Embiid.
I don't know. I think I'm a little. I don't know if it's better to do it in a shallower league or a deeper league. But we got coming in at 2. You're putting JJ a little bit over Sarge at 3, just a little. I think, and these could be flip flops. So they're kind of, let's just say they're even at 3. They're tied at 3. Who do you have at 4th? Which one of these overdrafted guys do you have at 4th?
Ben Simmons, just because they're saying he's the point guard, and any team starting point guard I want in a standard league, right? He's one of the hardest guys to project for me. I'll be straight up about that. I don't think he can shoot, but I don't think he's going to try to shoot threes. So he's going to be maybe the only point guard in the league who doesn't shoot threes.
That's pretty crazy, and that's also not well. If they play him at the 4, I guess, but make him run the offense.
And so, like, he's going to be a really weird guy because he's probably going to have like some forward eligibility, right? I can't imagine sites are going to give him point guard eligibility. So he's going to be a forward. I mean, Yahoo's got him at small forward, power forward. So he's a forward who's going to get you like 4 to 5 assists and no threes and some decent rebounds and not very good points. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't really know what to project here. I'm kind of at a loss on him a little bit.
I agree. He's kind of a hard guy to go with. I'm willing to draft him in a standard league because of his.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
Almost the upside, the unknown upside.
Okay, so are you willing to draft him at pick 53?
No,
because that's where Yahoo says you got to take him.
Well, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That is Yahoo got him over Robert Covington.
Yes, Robert Covington 69.
I'm embarrassed for everyone who's doing mock
Here's
drafts.
Guys: Drew Holiday, Victor Oladipo, Harrison Barnes, D'Angelo Russell. All of these guys below Ben Simmons.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say if you're doing drafts on Yahoo, you're doing them wrong. apparently, because the statistics pan out that you're taking Ben Simmons as a top 50 player when I think, he could break the top 100, certainly. But there's things to not like about his game, like the fact that he's not going to hit any threes. His free throw percentage is bad. But, I do like you're saying, I like the fact that he could be a weird rebound assist steal guy. And to me, that is interesting enough to give him a shot, but certainly not a top 50 shot. I don't even know if I'd take him in the top 100.
Here's the thing about that pick, too. That's his absolute ceiling, if you ask me. Like, I don't see any way that he's above pick 53. So why would you pick anyone at their absolute ceiling at pick 50?
Yeah, it doesn't make too much sense to me.
And it's not that there's a small variance in this player. Like, I don't know what he is. I mean, I said that already, right? I have no idea what he is. He could be the 100th player. He could be the 120th player. He could be the 50th player. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there is a decent chance, and it's really hard for rookies, and let's just go out there. He's a rookie, technically, and so it's really hard for rookies to finish in the top 100. Only a handful of times have we seen rookies finishing in the top 100. There's that fluky year where you had like Porzingis and Towns being actually the top players their rookie seasons. That's incredibly rare. And a lot of people, I think, are thinking, Ben Simmons and Fultz and Lonzo Ball are going to be one of those rare type of players who ends up being not just standard league relevant, but like really, really good coming out of the gate. And there's just not a history for that at all, especially from guards.
I talked about how I was down on Lonzo Ball in the Lakers episode. I'd rather have Lonzo Ball than Ben Simmons, I think.
Wow. I think I'm with you, actually, simply because there's quite a few minutes to go around in Philly, and they're going to run the offense through Lonzo Ball in LA. While it sounds like they're going to run the offense through Ben Simmons, but you still got Markelle Fultz out there needing to do something. And let's talk about Markelle Fultz. Would you rather have Ben Simmons or Markelle Fultz?
Everything I'm hearing now, Ben Simmons, but I'll reserve my right to change that once I see some preseason games and see what the hell they're doing. Because they can say anything you want, right? I mean, I can say that Derek Favors is going to be the point guard for Utah.
Sure.
But, I mean, once we start
I've actually heard that.
Once we start seeing some preseason games, right, like my claim is going to be totally disregarded because you're going to clearly see that Derek Favors does not have the ball in his hands the whole time. Now, if we're watching some preseason and Ben Simmons does, I'll start believing it. If he doesn't, and Markelle Fultz has the ball in his hand or somebody else, TJ McConnell, I mean, whoever they're going to play, we'll see. We'll see what goes down.
I'm making my decision between these two guys. I'd actually probably put them incredibly close together. And I'd probably make my decision on them based on who has the better preseason. And I know that's pretty fickle. Preseason shouldn't matter that much. But I just don't think I'm taking them outside of I would consider it for me reaching for them if I took them in the 9th round. I would take maybe one of them in the 9th round depending on my build and depending on whatever. But 10th round and afterwards is what I'm taking them, and I don't think either one of them are dropping that far.
Markelle Fultz, 78th in Yahoo.
Yep, exactly. Neither one of them are going to drop that far. So I don't think I'm going to own either one of these guys, especially in a redraft. I'm not going to own either one of these guys. In a dynasty, I think that's a pretty decent question. In a dynasty league, would you rather have Lonzo, Fultz, or Simmons?
For me, it's Fultz. I just kind of like the game. I like the attacking the basket and a little bit of assist, a little bit of rebound. He's going to be able to shoot some threes. I don't love anybody with a busted jumper. And I think that maybe both Ben Simmons and Lonzo Ball have that. So that could be a problem. I mean, that could hurt your ceiling a lot going forward.
Yeah. When you're not hitting over 2 threes a game, you're not going to be a top player.
So I think I definitely want Markelle Fultz in a long-term keeper situation.
I think I'm going to agree with you. I could see a world where Lonzo Ball is that. So if you take Lonzo Ball over Fultz, fine, whatever. But yeah, Fultz is probably my guy as well. Is there anyone else on this team you want to talk about? Any deep league guys? I think we're setting a record on the longest we've ever talked about a team, but that's why we saved this for last.
If I'm going for a deep league special on this team, and I think they got a lot of standard league relevant guys, so it's difficult. This is a very deep league shot, but I think he's going to get minutes eventually, and it is Richaun Holmes.
Interesting. Why do you like Richaun?
I like Richaun because he can shoot a three as a big man and block a shot. Okay, so as long as my friend Joel Embiid gets hurt, and like I said, I think he will, I think my man Richaun can come in, get some good minutes, score a little bit of points, get some rebounds, block a shot, and hit a three, and that's a sexy thing on a really good percentage. He's shot over 50% and hit some threes when he's gotten big minutes, and I like that.
If you're seeing reports, Joel Embiid not coming back this season, and you see Richaun Holmes sitting out on your waiver wire, or even better, let's say before you draft, we hear, Embiid's not going to play this year, or he's not going to play till February or March. How about that? And are you going to draft Richaun Holmes in a standard league draft? Because I'm considering it.
And it depends on who gets the minutes, right? Because you need minutes to be valuable in a standard league, and Joel Okafor is still there. I think Richaun Holmes is the superior defender and a much better fantasy option. And if they say they're giving him the minutes over Joel Okafor, or they're splitting the minutes down the middle, I'm interested in Richaun Holmes in standard league.
Yeah, I like his fantasy game. He's a 1-on-1 type of guy, like you said. He could be a 1-1-1 type of guy with good rebounds. The only problem is throw in another one, a fourth one, because that might be his assists. That's the only real issue for me.
But if your team's strong in assists, if you've got 3 or 4 point guards, do you care?
Oh no, there's a world where I don't care. Actually, it all becomes about value, right? Like if he's sitting on my waiver wire, great. That's great value. It's amazing value. Yeah, if he's going to be playing 30 minutes a game.
I could see myself owning him at some point this year. Let's put it that way, even in a standard league.
So yeah, everybody keep an eye on Richaun Holmes in the deeper leagues. Pick him up. Like I would say, actually pick him up early. I think he's going to be because we really don't know the health of Joel Embiid. So after that record-setting preview of your Philadelphia 76ers, which was, I think, well-deserved because there's a lot going on there, we are finally to the final team of our NBA season preview. The Thunder from down under, not the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Phoenix Suns.
I never would have guessed this would be our last team.
Me neither. I don't know how we organized this, but it was probably me. I probably organized it after a few drinks. But the Phoenix Suns are another interesting team for the sake that we don't know what's going on there. There's a lot of young talent. Them and Philly kind of fit the same type of mold, except for I'm just a little bit more interested in what's going on in Philly. What's the most interesting thing going on in Phoenix?
Most interesting thing for everybody else or for me?
For you, for the fantasy wise, what would you say is the most interesting thing going on in Phoenix though?
The most interesting thing for me is just watching Devin Booker play. I love to watch Devin Booker.
He's great. He's amazing, and I think 100% he's going to be overdrafted.
Oh, because everyone gets wet for him, and that's what disappoints me. But I love that kid, man. That kid's just a baller. And he's not a great fantasy player in the sense that he doesn't do some of the things you want him to do in fantasy. But put the ball in that dude's hands and watch him shoot and play, and that dude can ball, man.
Yeah, he is a true volume scorer. Just a absolute, just NBA elite scorer. If anyone's ever watched him play, and he's going to be an elite scorer this year too. The issue is that his counting stats are basically non-existent. He's approaching. I guess he could approach a steal a game, but you really don't want a guard to just get less than a steal a game. That's nothing to be excited about, or just around a steal a game. His assists and his rebounds are fine, but he's only hitting 2 3-pointers a game. He is getting to the line a ton, so he's going to give you a lot of volume in free throw percentage.
Those are 2 elite categories, right?
Yeah.
Points and free throw percentage. Those are the 2 elite ones. And then threes are okay. And the assists are all right. For him, a shooting guard, 3.5 isn't anything to sneeze about, which is what Mark projected him for. If he can get that, I'm all right with that.
It's fine. It's fine. It's just not – it fits a head-to-head type of building a team around certain type of categories – type of player where I think he will be drafted fairly representative to what its value is based on what your build is going to be. But in a roto league, he's going to be way overdrafted because he really just doesn't give you enough in the counting stats, and he does hurt you in field goal percentage.
Well, and we talked about this in a previous episode. I think when we talked about Minnesota was he's one of your last shots for 20 points.
Mm-hmm.
After you get past him, there's not going to be a lot for 20 points.
There's not going to be a lot for 15 points.
Yeah. So in Yahoo, he's going 43rd, which I don't love. I think he's a top 50 player, but barely. So they kind of got him right where he belongs. I think.
I'm not putting him in my top 50.
I think he's. I have him at about 50. I'll be straight up about that. If you look at Mark's rankings, there's a few guys I have below that 50 and a few guys I have ahead of him that are just right there below him. And so, it kind of all washes out to him being right around top 50 for me.
I'm not putting him terribly below top 50, but I'm just kind of, looking around what Mark's projections are, and some of the guys I'm seeing here, D'Angelo Russell, I think I would rather have D'Angelo Russell, and they're kind of similar players. And I know Devin Booker's going to score way more than D'Angelo Russell, but D'Angelo Russell's going to run a little bit more point, so I think his assists are going to be higher. His threes, I think D'Angelo Russell could take more threes than Devin Booker as well. So I'd kind of throw them near each other, right? But I'd still think I want D'Angelo Russell.
And that's right on the cusp of the top 50 right there, and that's kind of where I'm at. So I think that Yahoo, he's probably going about around too early. And here's the thing. I don't see a huge leap from him. He's really young, but, he's already scoring 22 points a game. And with Eric Bledsoe there, is he going to score any more than that?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty hard for him to score
now if
any more than that. So.
If Bledsoe gets hurt, I could see him taking that up to 40 or, if he can get 25 points a game, that's some serious value there. But with Bledsoe in tow, I just think he's kind of being drafted above his ceiling, maybe even, or right at his ceiling, and so I'm definitely not going to be on board with picking him.
Yeah, you're not getting a value wherever you draft Devin Booker, you're definitely not going to get a value.
Right.
Let's talk about Eric Bledsoe, and I think we're going to definitely disagree on this based on previous discussions, but I'm a fan of Eric Bledsoe. I like Eric Bledsoe. I understand he does have a history with injuries.
I love to watch Eric Bledsoe. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, he's a great player to watch too. He was one of the original guys years ago where he was suddenly averaging a half a block a game as a guard, and you're like, whoa, over a half a block game as a guard, that's insane. From your point guard who's going to give you 6+ assists a game. Now there's a few more guys out there who give you what Eric Bledsoe gives you, right? But it's still not a lot. He's still an elite point guard when healthy. He is a 20-point-a-game scorer, which is fairly rare when it comes to point guards. He's still running the point in Phoenix. Brandon Knight is out, I believe, for the whole season.
Well, and let's just forget him anyways. He did not play at all, and he tore his ACL, so he's definitely out for the year. And
sad. I kind of like Brandon Knight. He was all right.
Fastest drop off for a guy who was a top 30, 40 fantasy player, and then was just nothing and wasn't old at all.
Yeah, no, he's
still
still
in his 20s.
incredibly young. He's like not in his prime. Like he's incredibly young. But yeah, that's a bit of a sad story. But for Eric Bledsoe, that means he's the point guard. Period. He is going to run this team and hopefully not run himself into the ground. And man, I just really like Eric Bledsoe. I think a lot of people are going to be out on him. I think people are going to underdraft him. I think if you can get him, late in the third round, that's a really great value. That's a great value.
Oh, you getting a little bit of a bargain if you like him there. I mean, he's 35th on Yahoo.
Oh no, I like him there because I think that's where he's going, and it sounds like that is where he is going. But if I'm coming around the bottom, let me just run the numbers here. Let's go out to the settings. Let's go out to the things. I'm at the bottom of the second round, and I do not see Kyrie Irving, Damian Lillard. I'm probably taking Eric Bledsoe after them. I think I'm taking him before Kemba Walker, but I might take Kemba Walker ahead of him. I think I'm taking him before Kemba Walker, but I'm not taking Isaiah Thomas being out 27 games ahead of Eric Bledsoe. And you know what? I'm taking Eric Bledsoe over Mike Conley too. Not Kyle Lowry though. I'm taking Kyle Lowry over Eric Bledsoe.
That one surprised me. I got Mike Conley over Eric Bledsoe. Thomas is a guy that is not someone we should talk about today probably, but I've got Thomas way down now. I'm really kind of scared off by that hip injury, and I don't want him anywhere near even my third round. I don't like to draft a guy who's already hurt, so unless I start hearing some good things during the preseason, he's probably in my like 5th or 6th round. I'm just
he's scared off. I don't think I would drop him that far down. It's mostly because I play in roto leagues, so I can hide a guy for 27 games, right? But if you want to go back and listen to the Cleveland episode, we do talk about the trade right when it happened. So add a fresh peppering of, oh yeah, he's going to be out for 27 games.
I saw a new report too that they were saying that January sounds like an early projection.
Yeah,
which
I don't know. I do not know what to believe with these reports.
Right, and it's a slow news time, so you hear some trash reports. I don't know what else to call them, like things that just like someone makes up and says it's fact. But he's definitely a guy I'm watching hard in the preseason right now. And if I'm drafting tomorrow, I'm out. I don't want him because I don't know, especially if it's a redraft league. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't play until January, and that's a lot of games, man. That's not something for me.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, and I got Eric Bledsoe way ahead of him now. Middle of the second round is probably the highest I'd ever take him, and it'd be circumstantial. But late second round is probably where I'll end up taking him, and I will risk him falling into the third round on my return pick, simply because I think he will, because I think a lot of people are out on him.
Yeah, I definitely don't have him that high, so he's yours.
Yeah, I can't wait to take him because the guy's a stud. Okay, he really is, especially in Mankato.
If he can stay healthy, that could be a good get. I mean,
I think it is.
He's got to stay healthy.
I'm gonna play the fact that he's going to stay healthy. So another player on this team that I believe you've brought up like far too many times. Just like you, I can't wait to talk about this guy. I miss this. I think about this guy all the time. Marquese Chriss. Why do you like Marquese Chriss so much?
Do I like Marquese Chriss a lot?
You do.
Really?
For all indications of everything I've ever heard about you and everything you've ever said to me, Marquese Chriss is a guy that you cannot wait to watch this year.
Well, I'll say this. I honestly don't know that I'll get him much this year, if at all, because I think he's kind of a trendy sleeper for people.
Really? I have not heard any trendy sleeping on Marquese Chriss.
Okay, so maybe I'm disillusioned.
I think you've been trendy sleeping and thinking about him when you're dreaming. I believe that.
Well, I will throw out that in a draft I did recently, he went at like pick 80, and this was a mock draft, not a real draft. And I was like, Am I missing something here? Like, does someone know something I don't?
Pick 80 is a little too high. If I go to Yahoo, he is being taken 118th.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. I'm all right with that. I think he's got a shot to be.
Seems a little low for me.
That's what I mean. I think he's got a shot to be a triple one guy. I actually like him as a top 100 player this year.
He's actually another guy who'd be a quadruple one. The other one being an assist.
The rebounds stink, right? But you don't love that from a power forward, but
they're not great. They're also not like devastating.
Okay, so here's a philosophical question. ESPN released their breakouts, and one of their guys was Julius Randle, and I didn't understand that really because I don't see how Julius Randle has a ton of upward mobility. But who would you rather have, Randle or Chris?
Oof, I think that's an excellent question. I like Chris a lot, not as much as you obviously, but Julius Randle is going to play, I think, a lot more than Marquise Chris. It could be very similar, actually. I don't know what Luke Walton's doing over there, and we did kind of go through the Lakers saying, everybody's going to play 30 minutes.
He doesn't give anyone more than 30 minutes, so I don't see him busting on that. I think Larry Nance is going to play some. They got Zubac to play some. They got Brook Lopez to play some. I mean, he's not going to get more than 30 minutes, I don't think.
In a 9-category league, a Roto league where I care about all the stats, I think I'm going to go Chris over Randle. Not by a whole lot, but it's that triple one that you're talking about. A block and a steal is incredibly valuable. A block, a steal, and a 3 is even more valuable. And when you look at Randle, Randle, I think, has the ability to be very close to a double-double type of guy. But those are the stats that people get excited about, and they shouldn't.
Right. And he's got an elite category in rebounds. I mean, that's an elite category for him.
Yeah.
But I'm going Chris.
And also some weird assist nights from Julius Randle. Some weird 8 assist nights, 10 assist nights.
So I think he's getting slept on a little bit. I think I'll own some Marquise Chris. I thought he was going a little bit higher.
I think you are going to own Marquise Chris for sure. What round do you think you considering he will probably fall a little bit? What round do you think you're going to be taking him in?
Taking him, I mean, if it's a me only draft, I think I'm looking at him at like pick 90 probably. Maybe 80.
Yeah. If you see him hanging around, which I think you will in a lot of drafts, hanging around in the 10th round,
I'd love that to be my last starter. Love that.
Good pick. That's a very good pick. Do you think he is going to be a better fantasy value than another player on this team named TJ Warren?
Well, you tell me where TJ Warren's going. We're going to talk about value. I mean, if Warren's getting picked at 130, I mean, I love some TJ Warren too. I'm a little bit worried that they decide to play Josh Jackson over him a little bit.
Yeah, Warren is being drafted at 130. That's really surprising to me because I thought he was kind of a name that people knew based on his performance.
But I love that as an undervalued pick too. I mean, this is a good points guy, some rebounds, a steal, a 3, good percentages for the most part. I like TJ Warren. He's got to fit your build a little bit when you pick him, in the sense that like he's got some categories where he's not great in, but I like him.
I mean,
if you can tell me he's going to be my last player in a standard league, heck yeah.
I think I would take him right around where Chris is being taken, and I'd actually have to try to decide. Do I really want Chris or do I want TJ Warren?
I can see that. I mean, I think he's going to be right on that edge of that top 100.
They're very similar players, and I don't know if in a Roto league I think I might lean Warren actually. They're both 1-1 guys. I think Chris is a 1-1-1 guy, and I don't think TJ Warren doesn't really hit a lot of threes. He only averaged about a half a 3 last season, but he shot pretty close to over 50% for the season last year. His free throw isn't as bad as Chris's is. And he never turns the ball over, mostly because he's shooting, I think. But yeah, I think I would probably lean TJ Warren as of today. This is one of those guys, I think, teams overall that I think you're going to have to sit down and watch during the preseason to see what their rotations are going to be like. And if Chris is getting more minutes than TJ Warren, then maybe my decision would change.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Sadly, this team really doesn't have a deep league special. I think that
you're not interested in Josh Jackson.
No, I just don't think he's great for fantasy. I mean,
you're not interested in Alex Lynn.
I think that and this is where I'm going to get to is I think Glenn, Chandler, and Alan Williams kind of split up those center big man minutes, and I mean you got Dragan Bender to play the power forward too, right? With Marquise Chris, so a lot of names, a lot of bodies.
Yeah. I mean, you could even probably slide Bender in at center in a weird small lineup that you probably shouldn't run, but like you don't care because you're the Suns, and it would be interesting to see at the very least.
I mean, if Chandler's getting some big minutes, he's always good for rebounds and a decent field goal percentage. I say decent because the number looks hot, but there's never that many attempts, so it's not that good. Alex Len, he's always been a per minute guy, but if he's getting 20 a game, do you really want him?
Yeah, he's only really valuable at like 30 plus, and I don't think he's going to approach 30. I don't think he's going to get 30 plus unless there's some weird injuries on this team. And Alan Williams was kind of interesting.
Just a big rebound guy himself, right?
At a per minute basis. Well, even at a per minute basis, I think he does approach a 1-on-1 with elite level rebounds if he's playing starters minutes. But I don't think I think you're right that none of these guys are going to play 30 plus minutes.
Well, I mean, I think I'm kind of hands off on everybody else on the team unless we see an injury during training camp or something to really change this situation.
I think you just got to keep an eye on those guys and just to see what the situation, what unfolds. And we will be doing that. We will be doing some preseason recaps, just kind of bringing up stuff we're seeing and any values that might be changing on our rankings in our minds by watching the different rotations. We also have a head-to-head versus Roto strategy podcast, and I think we're going to try to bring back a special guest, which if you've been listening, you can probably guess who it was. But this is it. This is it for our NBA preview. We're finally done.
Dude, I can't believe we got through it.
Yeah, all 30 teams are out there. If you have any questions about your upcoming draft, or if you want to join our hashtag basketball, watching the boxes, amazing, reoccurring, but possibly settings changing fantasy draft 2017, which is the name of the draft, which is the name of the league. If you want to be in that listener league, go ahead and tweet at us, and you can find me at Watch the Boxes. And Tyler, where can we find you?
You can find me at Watsy4444.
That's 4 4s.
I'll get in one last plug for everything we do here. I forgot to mention this on the last episode, but I'll say it now. If you want custom projections, they're March projections, but I do them. It's fine. I'll send them out any categories you want. You want some crazy, you have a crazy roster, you have a crazy auction budget, crazy categories. Shoot it over to me. I'll do you up a nice set of custom rankings, and it'll be a better life for you.
Yeah, those custom rankings are incredibly beneficial. I think every time I hear someone talking about those custom rankings that Tyler and Mark do, it's them thanking those guys for winning their league because of those custom rankings. So it's free. It's incredibly helpful. And it's really a service because if you're in a league, I saw a league out there that did field goal, free throw, and 3-point percentage, and field goal attempts, and free throw attempts, and personal fouls.
That's
Why?
crazy.
Why is this happening?
Ones we get a lot for are like free throws and field goals made, which I kind of like in the sense that it rewards guys who can hit the shots, and doesn't dock you for shooting a terrible percentage. I mean, that's just kind of an interesting way to play to me.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't know if anyone's ever looked into it, but like I feel like field goal percentage represents that because you're still taking the volume versus the made versus the attempt. So I think it would be. I wonder if someone's ever ran are those, if someone has field goals made as a category and field goal percentage as a category. I wonder if everyone gets the exact same points in those categories.
I don't know. We also do custom points rankings too. Like if you do play in a points league, which would not be the way I'd recommend to play fantasy basketball, but if you do, I get you a custom points setting too.
Yeah, to each their own. But I've never seen a point setting that really reflects how I feel these guys often rank. And the baseline is that 9-cat league. I know Josh Lloyd over at the Basketball Monster, who's a very good resource. He really rails against turnovers being a category, but I fully disagree. I think turnovers are incredibly important. They aren't the end-all be-all, and that's why you can punt them. But when you're comparing two players and they have the exact same stats, the guy who turns the ball over 3 more times is the worst player, period. I mean, just is the worst player in that situation. So I understand that Westbrook had 5 turnovers, but he also averaged a triple-double. So that helps negate those 5 turnovers.
Yeah, and I mean, it's all just in how you like to play. I mean, if we're all playing under the same rules, it doesn't really matter. At some point, does it? Right? We're having fun. We're trying to figure out. I'm trying to prove that I'm smarter than you by picking the players that are the best value in our league, regardless of what the settings are.
I would like to see kind of the fantasy basketball community come together and kind of rail in or rein in is probably the word I'm looking for. Some of these crazier leagues. I think a lot of the reason fantasy football is so popular and it works is because you only have to do it one time, basically a week, so you don't have to really spend the whole week doing it. But also because there's really only a couple ways of playing, only 2 or 3 ways of playing that a majority of people play. Now, there's a lot of really random, crazy football leagues out there too, because I think people have gotten bored with the standard way of playing or a PPR league or whatever people play now. Because I stopped playing fantasy basketball after losing to people who don't even pay attention to football. In basketball, I feel like there are too many variations. You got your 11 cats and 15 cats, and I've heard some guy who had a 5-cat league, and I'm like, that's another bad idea. And then points leagues that put really random points on really random categories. It's all over the place, and I'd like to see the community kind of come together and go 8-cat, 9-cat. Let's leave it there. Maybe experiment with a 10-cat every once in a while, and just do categories. And let's stay away from the points leagues.
I'm with you, but hey, if you like to play in points and that's easiest for you to understand, then good on you, man.
Yeah. To each their own, and I'm sure you're going to hear this rant again in an episode that's coming up probably very soon when we talk about strategy. So I think that is it for tonight. Tyler, do you have anything else to plug or anything else going on?
That's it, man.
Beautiful. We're done. And now the fun begins. Now we start talking about drafts in the season.
This is the best time of year, so I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, me too, man. So thank you for joining me, Tyler, and everyone else listening. Thank you for joining us. Have a good night, everybody.